Do you carry concealed? I recently posted a video about a protest situation and how to keep calm and work your way through a situation if you just get surrounded by rioters or protesters in your vehicle and there really isn't a safe option to exit the protest. So I was trying to give some tips to help you stay calm and actually work your way through that situation that would keep you and everybody else safe. So I did get a response, and the one gentleman was saying, hey, I'm a concealed carry person, and this would be part of our protection. Now here's the deal. I am a pro self-defense advocate. Absolutely. I believe as a Christian, I believe from scripture that we are actually supposed to not only defend ourselves, but I believe we're also to defend others. We're supposed to defend innocence. So I don't buy into this, this pacifist, even at the risk of your own life argument. It's nowhere really to be found in scripture. It's people really taking one verse, in my opinion, it's taking one verse completely out of context of scripture as a whole, and not really understanding that we are not only meant to protect ourselves, we are called to protect others. And God's not going to send you into a gunfight with a knife, so to speak. That's not his motivation, is for us to be unequal in our abilities to defend ourselves or to defend others. Do we always want to pray God's protection over us? Absolutely, we always want to pray God's protection over us. We also want to pray his wisdom. We want to pray for de-escalation. We want to pray that no harm comes to anybody. Like, we want to pray for these things because our end goal is that nobody gets hurt, everybody stays safe, but the threat is no longer a threat. That, we've de-escalated and the person has calmed down and they've went their way, whatever the case is. But when it comes to carrying, for self-defense, what I have a module in my course, Urban Survival for Christians. I have a module in that, and it's all about the self-defense and presenting a weapon. And I use the Kyle Rittenhouse situation as an example. And doing my research, I have found this example many, many times. And here's what I kind of want to get into. People have a different response to a good guy with a weapon than a bad guy with a weapon. That seems to be 100%. People can tell when there's a person who is extremely indiscriminate with their targeting, then people recognize that and freak out and flee for their lives, as they should. But when you have a good guy with a gun, the people respond differently. And what I want to kind of use the Kyle Rittenhouse as an example of is that he wasn't just carrying like some wee sidearm. He's carrying a weapon that there's often a lot of controversy about on the internet and in politics, in society. It's a big deal, that the type of weapon that he was carrying from a lot of people's perspective. So it had a presence. According to a lot of people, that type of weapon used for self-defense is overkill because of its presence, because of its intimidation factor. But here's the deal. I've talked in a previous video about how crowds get worked up into frenzies, and I've seen it. I've witnessed it in my own life. I witnessed riots in Belfast when I was a kid, and I watched people I thought were normal people get worked up into frenzies. So a frenzied crowd, the rationale is gone. So you think to present that it's going to help you? It's not. In fact, from the research I've done, and specifically in the Kyle Rittenhouse case, it's so well documented that they followed him. So he got involved in a situation, and I'm not trying to comment here on whether it was right or wrong, whatever the case is. The guy went to court and he was acquitted. So, if we follow what we believe is the justice system, then that's it. It's a done deal. So, but what did actually happen was when he got involved in that first incident, and from his perspective, he defended himself, then the crowd started following him and actually began to attack him. I really want you to soak that in. So you're a concealed carry person, and you have this strong belief that your concealed carry is going to be what will defend you in a situation. And does it in many situations? Absolutely. You know what we don't really hear about? We don't really hear about how many situations in this country are actually brought to an end just by presenting your weapon in a self-defense posture. In a non-aggressive self-defense posture where you're not trying to hurt someone, you're just telling them, I will defend myself. And hundreds of thousands, I believe it's hundreds of thousands of potentially life-ending situations in America are ended, are prevented because of simply presenting your ability to defend yourself effectively. So I'm a proponent of it. I'm 100% sold into it. But here's what I just want people to know and just have the information is that when you're dealing with a frenzied crowd, it's almost like all bets are off. So whatever you think potentially is going to happen, I can almost guarantee you it's not. What you just did is you made yourself a target. And when you look at the Kyle Rittenhouse situation and how it drew so much attention to him that people with skateboards were literally attacking him, you have to ask yourself, is it wise for me to do that right now? Am I really at that level of fear? Am I really in the situation where I could essentially lose my life? Because if you go to weapons training and you do any kind of sidearm training or tactical training of any kind, you know, they're going to tell you quite openly and quite, I think, articulately that this is to respond to an imminent life-threatening attack. Like you don't draw your concealed weapon to end an argument. You don't do it to brandish. You know, I literally have had a situation in my life where a guy, it's actually happened more than once, have brandished a weapon to intimidate me. And it's happened about 3 times in my life, and in all 3 times it had literally the opposite effect of what that person was hoping it would do. So whenever you get when your level of when your temper increases, your adrenaline goes up, you're getting a cortisol dump, like you do stupid things. So I'm not saying that that's the situation that you would be in necessarily. It is a common thing that does happen amongst men that escalates very quickly. I just want it to be on your mind. Just think about presenting you know, what you use for self-defense and trying to understand, will this crowd actually respond to it the way that I think they are? Because you could be, in many situations, much safer by not letting anybody know, by keeping it concealed. By keeping it concealed and not continuing to escalate the situation. By doing everything you can. If it's a life-threatening situation, but you feel that that you can de-escalate by simply backing up and removing yourself from the situation, or not even just not continuing to engage, not arguing, not perpetuating whatever the next step would be, I believe that is actually your Christian calling. I believe your first step as a Christian is to do everything you can to de-escalate. So ask yourself, is presenting your weapon de-escalating or taking it to the next level? Let me know your comments. Thank you. Thank you for checking out my video.